Power of Mayor to issue permits for rallies, BP 880 Bayan v. Ermita. Issue, they have, in fact, purposely engaged in public assemblies without the required permits to press their claim that no such permit can be validly required without violating the constitutional guarantee. Permit is required. LG should place freedom parks. Petitioners' standing cannot be seriously challenged. Their right as citizens to engage in peaceful assembly and exercise the right of petition, as guaranteed by the Constitution, is directly affected by P number 880, which requires a permit for all who would publicly assemble in the national streets and parks. There is no question as to the petitioners' rights to peaceful assembly to petition the government for a redress of grievances and, for that matter, to organize or form associations for purposes not contrary to law, as well as to engage in peaceful concerted activities. These rights are guaranteed by no less than the Constitution, particularly Sections 4 and 8 of the Bill of Rights, Section 2 of Article 9, and Section 3 of Article 13. Jurisprudence abounds with hallowed pronouncements defending and promoting the people's exercise of these rights. There are, of course, well-defined limits. What is guaranteed is peaceable assembly. One may not advocate disorder in the name of protest, much less preach rebellion under the cloak of dissent. The Constitution frowns on disorder or tumult attending a rally or assembly. Resort to force is ruled out and outbreaks of violence to be avoided. The utmost calm, though, is not required. As pointed out in an early Philippine case, penned in 1907 to be precise, United States v. Apuradug, it is rather to be expected that more or less disorder will mark the public assembly of the people to protest against grievances whether real or imaginary. Because on such occasions feeling is always raw to a high pitch of excitement, and the greater the grievance and the more intense the feeling, the less perfect, as a rule, will be the disciplinary control of the leaders over their irresponsible followers. It bears repeating that for the constitutional right to be invoked, riotous conduct, injury to property, and acts of vandalism must be avoided. To give free rein to one's destructive urges is to call for condemnation. It is to make a mockery of the high estate. Held in this decision, the court goes even one step further in safeguarding liberty by giving local governments a deadline of 30 days within which to designate specific freedom parks as provided under P number 880. If, after that period, no such parks are so identified in accordance with Section 15 of the law, all public parks and plazas of the municipality or city concerned shall in effect be deemed freedom parks. No prior permit of whatever kind shall be required to hold an assembly therein. The only requirement will be written notices to the police and the mayor's office to allow proper coordination and orderly activities. Disposition. Petition granted and respondents are directed comply with Section 15 of BP number 880 through the establishment or designation of at least one suitable freedom park or plaza in every city and municipality of the country. After 30 days from the finality of this decision, subject to the giving of advance notices, no prior permit shall be required to exercise the right to peaceably assemble and petition in the public parks or plazas of a city or municipality that has not yet complied with Section 15 of the law. Furthermore, calibrated preemptive response, insofar as it would purport to differ from or be in lieu of maximum tolerance, is void. The constitutionality of Batas Pambansa number 880 is sustained. Phil Petroleum Corp v. Mun. Of Pilalaya. Facts: petitioner is a business enterprise engaged in the manufacture of lubricated oil-based stock, which is a petroleum product, with its refinery plant situated at Malaya, Pilila, Rizal. PPC owns and maintains an oil refinery including 49 storage tanks for its petroleum products in Malaya, Pilila, Rizal. Under Section 142 of the NIRC of 1939, manufactured oils and other fuels are subject to specific tax. On June 28, 1973, PD 231 was issued enacted. Sections 19 and 19 provide that the municipality may impose taxes on business, except on those for which fixed taxes are provided on manufacturers. Importers or producers of any article of commerce of whatever kind or nature, including brewers, distillers, rectifiers, repackers, and compounders of liquors, distilled spirits and/or wines in accordance with the schedule listed therein. The Secretary of Finance issued Provincial Circular No. 26/73, directed to all provincial, city and municipal treasurers to refrain from collecting any local tax imposed in old or new tax ordinances in the business of manufacturing, wholesaling, retailing, or dealing in petroleum products subject to the specific tax under the NIRC. Provincial Circular No. 26/73 was also issued instructing all city treasurers to refrain from collecting any local tax imposed in tax ordinances enacted before or after the effectivity of the local tax code, on the businesses of manufacturing, wholesaling, retailing, or dealing in petroleum products subject to the specific tax under the NIRC. Respondent enacted Municipal Tax Ordinance No. 1, S. 1974, otherwise known as the Pilila Tax Code of 1974, which took effect on July 1, 1974. Sections 9 and 10 of the said ordinance imposed a tax on business, except for those for which fixed taxes are provided in the local tax code on manufacturers, importers, or producers of any article of commerce of whatever kind or nature, including brewers, distillers, rectifiers, repackers, and compounders of liquors, distilled spirits and/or wines in accordance with the schedule found in the local tax code, as well as mayor's permit, sanitary inspection fee and storage permit fee for flammable, combustible, or explosive substances, while Section 139 of the disputed ordinance imposed surcharges and interests on unpaid taxes, fees or charges. On April 13, 1974, PD 436 was promulgated increasing the specific tax on lubricating oils, gasoline, bunker fuel oil, diesel fuel oil and other similar petroleum products levied under Sections 142, 144 and 145 of the NIRC, and granting provinces, cities and municipalities certain shares in the specific tax on such products in lieu of local taxes imposed on petroleum products. The questioned Municipal Tax Ordinance No. 1 was reviewed and approved by the Provincial Treasurer of Rizal, but was not implemented and/or enforced by the municipality of Pilila because of its having been suspended up to now in view of Provincial Circular NOS 26/73 and 26/73. On June 3, 1977, PD 1158, otherwise known as the National Internal Revenue Code of 1977, was enacted, Section 153 of which specifically imposes specific tax on refined and manufactured mineral oils and motor fuels. Enforcing the provisions of the ordinance, the respondent filed a complaint against PPC for the collection of the business tax from 1979 to 1986, storage permit fees from 1975 to 1986, mayor's permit and sanitary inspection fees from 1975 to 1984. PPC, however, have already paid the last named fees starting 1985. The RTC rendered a decision against petitioner. Issue: 1 PPC whose oil products are subject to specific tax under the NIRC, is still liable to pay tax on business and storage fees, considering Provincial Circular No. 6/77, and mayor's permit and sanitary inspection fee unto the respondent municipality of Pilila, Rizal, based on Municipal Ordinance No. 1. Held yes ratio, PPC contends that, Provincial Circular No. 2673 declared as contrary to national economic policy the imposition of local taxes on the manufacture of petroleum products as they are already subject to specific tax under the National Internal Revenue Code. The above declaration covers not only old tax ordinances but new ones, as well as those which may be enacted in the future. Both Provincial Circulars 26-73 and 26A-73 are still effective, hence, unless and until revoked. Any effort on the part of the respondent to collect the suspended tax on business from the petitioner would be illegal and unauthorized, and Section 2 of PD 436 prohibits the imposition of local taxes on petroleum products. PC No. 26-73 and PC number 26A-73 suspended the effectivity of local tax ordinances imposing a tax on business under Section 19 of the Local Tax Code, with regard to manufacturers, retailers, wholesalers or dealers in petroleum products subject to the specific tax under the NIRC, in view of Section 22 of the Code regarding non-imposition by municipalities of taxes on articles, subject to specific tax under the provisions of the NIRC. There is no question that Pilila's municipal tax ordinance No. 1 imposing the assailed taxes, fees, and charges is valid. Especially Section 9, which according to the trial court was lifted in toto and /or is a literal reproduction of Section 19 of the Local Tax Code as amended by PD No. 426. It conforms with the mandate of said law. But PD number 426 amending the Local Tax Code is deemed to have repealed Provincial Circular NOS 26-73 and 26A-73 issued by the Secretary of Finance when Sections 19 and 19 were carried over into PD number 426 and no exemptions were given to manufacturers, wholesalers, retailers, or dealers in petroleum products. Well settled is the rule that administrative regulations must be in harmony with the provisions of the law. In case of discrepancy between the basic law and an implementing rule or regulation, the former prevails. Furthermore, while Section 2 of PD 436 prohibits the imposition of local taxes on petroleum products, said decree did not amend Sections 19 and 19 of PD 231 as amended by PD 426, wherein the municipality is granted the right to levy taxes on business of manufacturers, importers, producers of any article of commerce of whatever kind or nature. A tax on business is distinct from a tax on the article itself. Thus, if the imposition of tax on business of manufacturers, etc. in petroleum products contravenes a declared national policy, it should have been expressly stated in PD number 436. The exercise by local governments of the power to tax is ordained by the present Constitution. To allow the continuous effectivity of the prohibition set forth in PC No. 26-73 would be tantamount to restricting their power to tax by mere administrative issuances. Under Section 5, Article X of the 1987 Constitution, only guidelines and limitations that may be established by Congress can define and limit such power of local governments. Provincial Circular No. 6-77 enjoining all city and municipal treasurers to refrain from collecting the so-called storage fee on flammable or combustible materials imposed in the local tax ordinance of their respective locality frees petitioner PPC from the payment of storage permit fee. The storage permit fee being imposed by Pilila's tax ordinance is a fee for the installation and keeping in storage of any flammable, combustible, or explosive substances. Inasmuch as said storage makes use of tanks owned not by the municipality of Pilila, but by petitioner PPC, same is obviously not a charge for any service rendered by the municipality as what is envisioned in Section 37 of the same code. Section 10 of Pilila's Municipal Tax Ordinance No. 1 prescribing a permit fee is a permit fee allowed under Section 36 of the amended code. As to the authority of the mayor to waive payment of the mayor's permit and sanitary inspection fees, the trial court did not err in holding that since the power to tax includes the power to exempt thereof, which is essentially a legislative prerogative, it follows that a municipal mayor who is an executive officer may not unilaterally withdraw such an expression of a policy through the enactment of a tax. The waiver partakes of the nature of an exemption. It is an ancient rule that exemptions from taxation are construed in strictissimi juris against the taxpayer and liberally in favor of the taxing authority. Tax exemptions are looked upon with disfavor. Thus, in the absence of a clear and express exemption from the payment of said fees, the waiver cannot be recognized. As already stated, it is the lawmaking body, and not an executive like the mayor, who can make an exemption. Under Section 36 of the Code, a permit fee like the mayor's permit, shall be required before any individual or juridical entity shall engage in any business or occupation under the provisions of the Code. However, since the local tax code does not provide the prescriptive period for collection of local taxes, Article 1143 of the Civil Code applies. Said law provides that an action upon an obligation created by law prescribes within 10 years from the time the right of action accrues. The municipality of Pilila can therefore enforce the collection of the tax on business of petitioner PPC due from 1976 to 1986, and not the tax that had accrued prior to 1976.